Do you break into a sweat with even the thought of having company? I'm here to help. After trying just a few of my hosting tips, you'll be more than ready to say, come on over. Hey folks, well, it's been just over a year since my YouTube show launched, the Come On Over show. And the reason this matters is that I launched because someone wanted to launch me. I thought I would never do something like this, but other people had something in mind. So today we're talking to the two of the three people who decided that this was going to be a good idea, even though they didn't know they were deciding it was going to be a good idea. And they are Ginger and Dee. And they were guests at my house more than a year ago. And we're going to talk about how that guest situation turned into this show, literally. I'm not joking. So, hi ladies.
Hello.
Hi.
Let's talk about your visit and why you came to Nashville.
Do you remember? I did. We were going to the beach.
Oh, yeah. We were on our way to the beach. We took a detour through Nashville, and we stopped in to see you.
And when you called me, what did I tell you?
Come over right now.
I did. And I think I said, you asked me for things you could do in Nashville that would be very Nashville. And I said, well, first, you're going to stay with me. And secondly, I will be your tour guide. And so that's how we started the plan of having you come to my house, stay with Jimmy and me, and then it was going to be a free-for-all from there. But then, Ginger, you and I did something a little sneaky. What did we do?
Well, you had me send some pictures of Dee and I and just adventures that we'd had together. You had me send those ahead to you because you had something planned special for her.
I did, and I told you, don't ask questions. Just send the photos. And then I asked you another question. I asked you what Dee's favorite flower was, or even color of flower, and you told me.
Yes, I remember that.
And what color?
Yellow, I
Yellow.
think.
Yellow, which, sidebar, also happens to be one of my favorite colors of a flower. So I was like, woohoo! I get to have yellow flowers all over the house. Okay, so then you walked through the door, and Dee, what did you see?
I saw yellow, but let me backtrack a bit.
Okay.
So when all this was going on, first of all, Ginger was telling me we're going to stay at my friend's house, and you're going to absolutely love her. And I was like, okay, this is great. Then she's asking me these random questions. And what's your favorite food? And she kind of snuck these questions in. Then I really didn't have a clue what was really going on. You know, what's your favorite flower? And I remembered it afterwards, but beforehand, I really didn't pick up on anything.
Because we're so sneaky.
It
I'm
was
very sneaky.
But she is really sneaky as well. She probably plastered in a whole bunch of other kind of questions that I never got, probably, what Christmas presents I never received. But anyway, so when I got to your house, there was yellow flowers. And a lot of them, it was beautiful. They were on your piano. Walked in and on your dining room table, there was beautiful yellow flowers. And I still wasn't picking up on it. I just thought, well, she likes yellow flowers.
I do.
Okay, that's really pretty. That's kind of weird that we like the same thing, but that's really gorgeous. That's pretty.
Well, you're underplaying this a little bit because I did buy out almost the entire stock of yellow flowers at Kroger. There were so many flowers.
There were, indeed.
They were everywhere.
Yes,
Yeah.
there were.
It was so pretty.
Yeah, I am underplaying because it was all over your house.
All over.
Everywhere we went. On the floor, on the mantles, everywhere.
It was flower rich.
It was flower rich.
It was flower.
It is absolutely flower rich.
So that was the first kind of, oh, this is pretty. And you didn't think anything of it because, you thought, well, this girl really likes yellow flowers. Woohoo, so do I.
I did.
But then you got upstairs and what happened?
Okay, so I got the best room.
You did.
So I did get the best room, and of course I was rubbing it in her face a lot. Okay,
Yes.
I got the best room, and when I got in the room, there were yellow flowers all over that room as well. And then I saw pictures of us in frames. And the first thing I thought is how I felt so welcome in your home.
Oh.
And there was my favorite candies there as well. So I thought, wow, this is pretty incredible. Not only did I feel welcomed in your home, because I didn't know who you were.
Right.
You know, here I'm coming in somebody's home that I didn't know. I felt extremely welcomed. And I remember after I went into the best room, which I had, she didn't. I went into her room and I was amazed because I had one of the pictures and I took it to her and I said, "This is just incredible." It was overwhelming, is what it was, because I felt loved. I felt cared for.
And don't you think that should always be the goal when you visit someone's home, is that you do want to feel first welcomed. And I think people are pretty good at that. If they're not, there's room to grow, right? In fact, I think you have a little story for us about your growth in this aspect. But then if you can do a little bit more, and maybe I need to describe to my viewers why there were pictures in the guest room. I started this years ago, not as a joke, but kind of a sneaky thing, that when I had people come visit, if I had a photo of us, the guest and me together, then I literally, it's so easy and so cheap. You just use the frames that you had. They were random frames from in the house, smaller ones. And then I just send the pictures off to Walgreens or any other photo place that will print the photos. I put them in the frames and I just set them about the room and just wait for people to notice them and go, what? Like I had a guest recently, Jimmy and I did, a couple, and she was like, oh, it's a picture of us from high school. Weird. But she still didn't get it till she saw a picture of she and her husband. And she was like, what? What? Well, I had that from, I think, a high school graduation party before they were actually married. And so I was just finding photos. If I can't find them, I somehow get them sent. And it's not a hard thing, but it does take just a little more time and a little more effort to turn it into something extraordinary. Right?
Yeah, it was really neat. It really meant a lot.
It did.
And it was really just a special touch. And it was a trip we were looking forward to. And it was just like an added cherry on top.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, for me, I have to say that when I got into my room and saw that air mattress, it was an incredible moment for me personally. So the love and thought that went into that air mattress.
Yes. That soft cover air mattress. Oh, no.
Yes.
But there was love and thought in the refrigerator full of every kind of beverage you would want.
Yes.
And I believe there was a snack basket.
There was a snack basket. I had my own room with awesome stuff hanging on the walls. I think it was Jimmy's room, right?
It's Jimmy's man cave that has, now we are going to work on getting a pull-out couch so that nobody has to be in an air mattress anymore. But it's a quiet, cozy, giant room that has everything you would need.
She had a suite.
I had a suite.
She had a suite
connected to the bathroom.
You did.
And the bathroom was all fancy too, by the way, y'all.
Air mattress suite. Yeah.
Every touch. And then we went down, and after I changed, because it was a long drive to your house, then you had cooked an amazing dinner for us. My favorite. I mean, you went to amazing extent of making everything so that upon arrival, Jimmy was there. He took up all our suitcases. He did everything for us, and then we changed. We came down, and here the dinner table again, yellow flowers, and it was my favorite food.
And I did a fancy table for you because I love to do that.
Mm-hmm. It was absolutely very, very fancy.
Yeah. Candles.
Yes, we felt very it's really special.
You
Like
did.
it was an event.
It was. And then
Yeah.
you gave me recipes to take home.
Oh, I did. That's right.
Did, and I actually have used those recipes. I've actually some of my absolute favorites, and I've passed them on to other people because it's like, oh, it's very good. Because the next couple days, you actually gave me cooking tips. Remember, we would be actually in your kitchen. I actually helped you cook a few things. And then, if you remember, because you were just the hostess of hostesses, you put me in your little car and you drove me around and through Nashville. You gave me a tour of Nashville.
The Parthenon, I think, was the big hit. You were like, that's a Parthenon.
I had no idea it was there.
In Nashville. We have a Parthenon. Okay, so I'm going to tell a little Dee story here that may get edited out, but we'll see. So Dee and I were traveling along in the BMW, top down.
Coming.
She all of a sudden says to me, hey, just in the middle of a conversation about, I can't remember, she's like, hey, do you think that you could pull over? Because I think I'm going to throw up. Okay, yeah. So I pull over. Dee opens the door, does her thing, swishes some water in her mouth, closes the door, looks at me and said, no, where were we?
Yep. What? That was that whole drive. I was just waiting for the moment during the entire drive, the tour, everything. You know, I was waiting for the stretch of the road that was easy access. Yep.
Well, she's very considerate that way. Very considerate.
I tried to be a very good guest.
Well, y'all were wonderful guests because you loved everything. And now there's also a tip here that I recently recorded on how to think ahead when you're having company to your house. And one of the things that I asked Ginger was, are you allergic to anything? And Ginger was. And so I tried to make sure that there was an alternative, or I would ask her, would you like an alternative? It was something that she didn't want anyway. It was okay. But if it was something critical to the meal, we tried to have something for her on the side, even though you were constantly going, no, don't do anything for me. Well, when you know about that food allergy or some problem with the food, if you know that up front, you can plan for that rather than make something that a guest can't eat.
You make us suffer. You know, you took it out for her and you didn't make us suffer, you know, just for her, but you know, just because she, you know, you just took it out for her.
So I think that any fairly good cook or even an experimental cook or an adventurous cook can do that. You can still serve the main thing, and maybe the recipe, maybe it doesn't matter if a specific ingredient is in there. It's not critical, or you can always put it on the side. Yeah. All right. So then towards the end of your visit, we went to coffee with my publicist, and who is also Ginger's publicist, and that's how we know each other. And
she's charming and lovely, and we love her.
And sarcastic and funny, and
yeah.
And I think I call her the prophetess or something like high priestess or something like that, because she knows all. And, yeah. And so we met her for coffee, and usually when Ginger and Gina and I go out for coffee, we are at risk of getting kicked out of anywhere we go because we're too loud and sarcastic, and you know. But at this time, we all went for coffee, and Gina just nonchalantly asked, the publicist asked, so how's your stay? And you two went wild on your description. And I remember the publicist leaning in and being very, and then she'd ask a question. And at the end, she leaned over to me and said, I need to talk to you tomorrow. And I said, am I in trouble? And she went, not yet. So I had no idea what that was going to be about. And what it was about was her calling me and saying, you need to start a YouTube show. And I was like, about what? She's like, well, about what you did for Ginger and Dee. And I'm like, well, do you mean like hospitality? She's, yes. And at the end of that conversation, we had named the show. We had talked about Annabelle and her antics. My garden statue has her own Twitter account and at Annabelle Speaks. And we had solved hospitality world problems in that one conversation, and it launched. And even then, I was not sure this was going to be a thing. Turns out people are hungry for this kind of tip show and idea show. And in fact, Dee, you sent me this lovely message about how you used some of my very highest tips for a guest you had. Do you want to talk about that?
I did. Actually, I had my son and daughter-in-law who they live in the East Coast, and they came home. And they don't come home very often now because he's in the Navy. And so I took your tips. I had flowers in the room. I had pictures in the room, and I made it uber special. And I wanted them so welcomed, and I know that they did feel welcome. And because I knew I felt welcome and how I felt, and now I'm going to do that every single time. And I know Ginger, when I come and stay at her house, she has done that. And so I know that it's just spreading like wildfire.
And once you do it that first time, don't you think it just becomes a habit and it's not that difficult to do, really?
Nope. Mm-mm. It's just extra.
It's just little things. It's not a big production. It's just these little touches that make people feel really welcome and warm.
It's just makes you feel special. And I love it.
And that, my friends, is why I always say, go make someone feel special today. It really does make a difference. Come on over. Now go make someone feel special today.